Hello and welcome to the first few episodes of LoL Chat. This message thing is going to constantly repeat for the first few episodes until I don't exactly have to give a long introduction because people will get the idea or they'll figure it out by going to earlier episodes to figure out what the heck is going on. So basically, LoL Chat is my way of just talking about anything and everything League of Legends related. Champions, champion combinations, overpowered champions, champions that are weak right now, team comp champions, players that being, players with good mentality who are ready to win, assist teammates, those who are completely toxic, and just some of the things that they think about. PvE changes, which is one of the things that I'm probably going to hit to more, and then Riot's thoughts on things, being when they talk about some things. There's something that happens, like Riot when they're talking about pick order to call order, or Riot saying about, well, what if we change the champion to this sort of thing, and, that never gets into the PvE, or anything like that. I probably won't be covering ranked champions, or not ranked champions, ranked players. And by ranked players, I mean the high-level challenger tier, like Wild Turtle and all the other people, whoever they are. I don't really look at that, so I'm not really going to be covering that. And if there's a topic that you want me to cover, put it in the description, and I'll probably notice it and then do a little chat on it if I actually recall to, do that. So, without further ado, here's the first couple episodes of LoL Chat. Hello, and welcome to the second episode of LoL Chat. This time we're going to be talking about the defensive tree for the Mastery of Season 4. This is, of course, an upcoming thing, or it's currently here. This is, of course, the PBE's version. I don't believe it's on the PBE just yet, but it's more or less here in information. It could be in the PvE and I'm just completely blind, but I'm going to start breaking all these down, give you my opinion on it. It'll probably take a little while, but hopefully I can cruise right through this. Also, of course, as you can see, there's a picture of the mastery tree. There's the defensive area, and they really filled in a lot of it picture-wise. The other offense is about 50-50. This is only missing like one thing on a shield, which may or may not be the actual icon to go in there, and then utility is just completely taken over. It only has 3 things. So anyway, tier 1 block 2 ranks reduces the incoming damage from champion basic attacks by 1 to 2, and I believe this is actually a thing we have right now, which we actually do. It's known as unyielding right now, which also has 2 ranks, and it's the same thing, but that's further down the tree. Recovery, 2 ranks, 1 health per 5 seconds. That's kind of interesting too, since it gives you a little bit more of an option to say, I don't have much health regen, or I'm a Vladimir, I'm a Kennen, or somebody's going to bleed me out. I'm fighting a Darius, and I want to make sure that I get my health back. And currently we have Perseverance, which goes up to 6 health regen per 5 seconds based on missing health, which the problem there is that you have to be really weak and low for Perseverance to really affect you a lot. So that's a bit of a problem there, but I do like that recovery more or less is their way of at least giving you a basic something there, so that can help and not just be some most of the time ignored spell. Enchanted Armor, 2 ranks. These are all 2 ranks. Wow. Increase your bonus armor and magic resist by 2.5 and 5% afterwards at the final ranking. Now, this is actually similar to Legendary Armor right now, which at its first rank, it's 2%, and then it goes up 3 ranks as it goes. It probably stops at 5. I'm not exactly sure, since I can see my current mastery, but I'm not exactly on my primary, so I don't really have the option to check the spell out, the mastery out, to see how far it really goes down. But it seems to be a similar thing, just raised up more, so you have more options at the start, which it definitely seems that Enchanted Armor is going to be a dominant pick. Tough Skin, which I know the name is around here, reduces damage taken from neutral monsters by 1 to 2, does not affect lane minions. Now, Tough Skin is actually here right now. It's in the exact same spot too. They did not do anything to it. It is actually exactly the same, and it's just minions as well. And there is nothing on it being just minions. Well, saying that it doesn't affect minions. The current Tough Skin does not say anything on it. It just says monsters. So, of course, that was a primary jungler's tool to usually pick up, but sometimes now people don't really need to because they have the they can start a Doran's blade, or they can actually run around with the new butcher's knife and use that for things. Tier 2, unyielding, 1 rank, requires block, being the reducing incoming damage. Melee, reduces all incoming damage from champions by 2. Ranged, reduces all incoming damage from champions by 1. Now, this is actually a little bit different because the current block that, the current unyielding is actually known as block. Unyielding itself is reducing damage taken from champions in the current Season 3, and then it goes down to block, which reduces damage taken from champion basic attacks by 3. So it seems as though they switched around their names, but also reduced the points that you get from it. So you don't really get very many points taken off, but it's still good, a decent thing as a defensive part of the tree. Veteran Scars, instead of just being a single point giving you 30, they changed it to 3 ranks of 12, 24, and 36. So it's 6 more health than it is right now, but you still have to put in 3 points for it. Bladed Armor, which is new from what I can tell. Enemy monsters that attack you bleed, dealing damage equal to 1% of their current health each second. This does not work against lane minions. I believe I said monsters. But this is actually a upgraded version of Bladed Armor. Well, wait, they are both Bladed Armor. Excuse me. But it's a different version. The current Bladed Armor deals true damage back to minions and monsters that hit you. So this is, of course, what with you just for the jungle, which I thought it was actually just monsters, but apparently it actually covered minions too, which seemed really weird since Tough Skin was only for monsters. You need 2 points to get down to Bladed Armor first. That's really interesting that they actually let that one slide in like that, but I guess they thought it wouldn't really be effective because people are not going to put into something reducing monster damage if they're going to be top laning or mid laning or, bottom or supporting. So that's really interesting to see. But a thing on Riot, what they said is that this move will not bleed a target out since it requires, it's only 1% of their current health. So if they're down to absolutely nothing, they're not going to be able to suicide on you anymore unless you're Rammus or Annie. Then your normal passives should burn them out. So the mastery no longer kills minions. Tier 3, Oppression, 1 rank. Reduces damage taken by 3% from enemies that have impaired movement, slow snare, stuns. Now this is kind of similar a little bit to Relentless right now, which is reducing the effectiveness of slows by 15%. It's almost like a alternative version of that. I was going to just say an alternate version, which I think that word works too. But it seems to favor those who have crowd control. So if you're a mid lane and you build yourself Aurelia's, or you're an Amumu, Zac, you build yourself a Frozen Mallet, you can more or less use it to keep on somebody and know that their damage is going to be reduced. So Randuin's Omen should more or less also cause this similar effect. So that's going to make you pretty tanky, I must say. That's a really big buff for the Randuin's Omen to have. Juggernaut, 1 rank, requires Veteran Scars. Again, that's just the 3 ranks of heals of free health. 30% maximum health. Now, we actually do currently have Juggernaut, and Juggernaut is 3 points into itself, and it actually goes up to 4% currently, and this one is up to 3% of your current health, so it's a little bit different there. Hardiness and resistance are 3 ranks between 2, 3.5, and 5, which are exactly the same right now. There is no difference between hardiness and resistance, except the fact that they decided that they wanted to put them down into the 3rd part of the tier. Right now we have it in our 2nd tier spot, but they decided that it needed to get moved down. So those are the armor that looks as though somebody's face is slightly, well, mostly covered up, and then followed by the female Taric that is blocking a shield. I don't know. The little icon there reminds me of Taric. That's the best I got. Now, of course, these two now have something to pair them with, which they actually never had before. I don't even believe in Season 2 there was anything connecting to the armor, bonus, free armor, and free MR. But then Tier 4, Perseverance, 3 ranks, 1 to 3% of your missing health every 5 seconds. Now, this seems, this is actually where they moved the current Perseverance. They took it from its 2, 4, 6 and moved it down to a 1, 2, 3. Probably because they wanted to try to keep it for those who actually had it when they got really tanky and really healthy. But they figured that it's not really worth having at the very top because you're not really going to want it. But if you want it, it's near the middle now, middle-ish bottom. Swiftness, reduce the effectiveness of slows by 10%. That is actually where they currently moved the Relentless, which is reducing effectiveness of slows by 10%. Now I'm losing my positioning. Yep, there we are. So I don't believe they took the name anywhere, but they just replaced... Nope, I don't see the name moved anywhere. They just replaced Relentless with Swiftness, which kind of gives a better idea of what it does now. So that's where the foot has the is ripping off the stick from. So now we get to what the heck hardiness and resistance are attached to, and these are reinforced armor and evasive, which no, it is not the evasion ability that they used to have in Season 1. But reinforced armor reduces damage taken from criticals by 10%. Now, that is actually the exact same spell we have right now, which more or less has a really thin-looking Nocturne wearing a armored chest piece, leaning back with like a laser explosion behind him. Futuristic Michael Bay there. So that's all that one is, and that was never attached to anything. Now that it's attached to something, it more or less gives you a little bit more of thing to say, hey, try this. Here's crit reduction, which 10% is actually a lot stronger than a lot of the other things. Like legendary armor and defender were so weak because they were like bonus armor and magic resist by 2 to 6%, and then defender, which was 1 armor and magic resist for every nearby enemy champion, kind of weak. While reinforced armor, when you reduce damage taken from critical strikes, that doesn't mean that the basic shot and then the critical, like all this damage, like if you have 100 damage from a critical and then they have like say 30 AD, but somehow they got a critical with all that extra bonus. I'm not, saying like, oh, toss Infinity Edge of Phantom Azeel, all this blah 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 blah. Just that it would be 70 damage worth of criticals. It's not nerfing thing 10% out of that 70. It's 10% out of the entire shot as it currently is, which I don't think people really notice too much, but that's actually a lot of damage to lose when it's like, yo, yeah, I got a critical shot, 300 damage, all of a sudden 30 of it's gone in a second, and it's like, wow, that's a lot of damage to lose. It's not a simple like penny of 3% damage gone. No, that's a that's 30. Well, actually, if it was then the basic 3%, then it would be 9 damage, but, I'm going. So anyway, and then evasive, which is also 1 rank. The resistance for the magic resist requires resistance. You heard that, sorry. Reduce damage taken by 4% from an area of effect magic damage. So that is kind of interesting. Let's see, reduce damage. I had to click things while reading that, so so area of effect. I don't believe there is anything that we have right now that's area of effect. No, we don't. We actually have tenacious, which reduces crowd control, but I guess, well, never mind, that's not area of effect. What am I saying? I'm going nuts here. I am going completely nuts now. So we do not have an area of effect. Tier 5, Second Wind. 1 rank requires Perseverance, which is, again, the 1-2-3% health for every 5 of your missing health. So just shift down. Increases all sources of incoming healing by 10% when below 25 health. So that's a really interesting one to say if you're a Vladimir or a Zac who wants to build incredibly defensive, or you're the tank while you have a Soraka on your team who will probably eventually have her new passive being that you get more health based on how much health you're missing. So that would actually be really good, and that also works in lifesteal situations too. So a tanky Aatrox who builds a 921 would really like that, especially a 921 Zac or anybody else with any sort of built-in lifesteal. A Trundle, that's going to be a really powerful tool for them to definitely pick up. So that, of course, is from Perseverance. Yep, the health regen. So it is more or less designed for those who have a self-health sustain. Vladimir as well, but I think Vlad might go 21-9, depending. Legendary Guardian, 1, 2, 3, 4 armor and 0.51, 1.52 magic resist for each nearby enemy champion. So Riot could not leave Legendary armor alone, and they decided to make Legendary Guardian instead, which is 1 rank more, but the difference now is that it's flat rather than scaling by a percent. So it's basically Defender with 1 armor magic resist for every unit, but moved over with Legendary Guardian, trying to take over the name Legendary Armor as a thing. Runic Shield, probably their way to more or less say, look, the Runic Bulwark, we got rid of it. But I don't know. Start the game with a 50 health shield. Start a game with a 50 health shield. This shield regenerates each time you respawn. Now, this is probably, of course, when you die, and I guess they were trying to figure out how to exactly do something with this right, but they felt as though this was probably the best that they could do for it, because if you have it regenerate so many times, then you're going to respawn with it, and it could have some problems later down the road for being like free and just there. So I don't know if Runic Shield's going to be used so much. Maybe it'll be used if people don't have anything else to really put their points down to. Kind of like right now you don't have a defense with Defender, Legendary Armor, Good Hands, and Reinforced Armor. Those are really your options. So there's really not so much there, but never know where that could go. And then the final thing is Tenacious, which they moved down from the 4th slot all the way down to the 6th slot. So this Tenacious reduces the duration of crowd control effects by 15%. Currently, it is exactly the same, but the current Tenacious is 5%. And then up to another 5%, then another 5%, so it's 15 totaled, but it's still the effect that they're just super crammed, which is actually really nice to pick up as a defensive item, because that's one you're going to want to get. But it was always so weird to dump so many points into Tenacious when you also had Juggernaut, which was a ton of health, well, increasing your maximum health there as a thing. So that was a bit of a problem to have combined with it. So now that they moved Juggernaut up a little bit and gave it a 1 rank to tag along Veteran Scars, but then again, Veteran Scars is a 3, so it's almost as if Veteran Scars and Juggernaut switch places, although they were never connected together in the first place. And I believe durability is actually completely removed from the effect. Veteran Scars more or less took over for durability in a way, which was gaining health per level. So they're reducing the amount of health you can have generally, while they're increasing most of your defenses, which isn't bad, because there were times where targets would get a lot of health and even some health regen too. There's a lot more health regen in this than we currently have. So they're trying to beef up defense, so Last Whisper and Void Staff can actually have a bit more of a use, rather than people becoming so tanky and one spell almost kills them, but they had 18 extra health or 30 extra health, so they live through an ability, and it's more or less saying penetration. You don't need to pick up Leandry's Torment all the time, because that's going to be a temporary burn over time as well for stuff. So this defensive tree is a lot more stable, I gotta say. There are, of course, a few things. I don't know if Perseverance is really going to be one I would go for, but seeing that second wind is there, that's definitely going to be the real catcher for a lot of people. So there's a lot of anti-crowd control and defensive. It's a lot more bulky, I'll say. So I definitely say, this is definitely going to turn out to be a really good season for the Mastery Tree. I'm a little worried about what they're going to do with the runes, but Riot's already done some rune tweaks before. But it's definitely going to be really good to play around with this tree. And probably as soon as Season 4 rolls around and the trees are out, I'm going to more or less poke at them and lay like, look, this is probably the best combination for this kind of guy, and then this is the best combination for this kind of guy. Let's discuss that, and then go from there. So just the utility tree, and if you have not checked out the offensive tree or the utility tree yet, you can click on those. I still have to do the utility, but they'll all already be up by the time you actually see this. So I'll see you guys next time on LoL Chat. Bye.